Good morning, everybody. This is Joe Sins Rivers Photos. I wanted to talk to you about a couple things that are upcoming, a couple things that are changing a little bit. I mean, change is not always bad. And, what's going on in the Elvis world. Y'all know how busy I've gotten and how busy I get. It seems like I don't get a chance to read as much, but I will have pockets of time where I can do a couple book readings like I did last week. The first thing I am going to be doing is just changing the name of the channel just to Joe Sins, or something like that. There's a reason behind that. Elvis Presley Enterprises at some point shut down a lot of channels using the name Elvis. It's actually been a lot more lax with Riley Keough at the helm. When Priscilla had her hands out and she was taking money from everywhere, I don't know if you remember this or not, but she actually shut down all of the Elvis wedding chapels in Las Vegas, or made them pay a lot of money in order to do these weddings performed by, Elvis. Ladies and gentlemen, I now pronounce you husband and wife. So anyways, it's more of a protection for this channel because we have 885 videos. It would be a shame to get shut down over something like that, because maybe Elvis Presley Enterprises gets a little greedy or whatever. That being said, I've got some other channels too that are out there that we'll talk about at some point. And so the name still may live on one of those channels, the Joe Sins Rivers Photos. That being said, let's have a little bit of a conversation with what's going on in the Elvis world. I get a lot of emails from y'all, and most of them I do get a chance to respond. Maybe it's not the same day, so don't lose heart if you sent me an email and I haven't responded yet. If I open the email up, I definitely do respond. Okay, so it may be that I haven't read them yet. Excuse me. So what's going on in the Elvis world? Alright, so we still have the Bridget Cruz lawsuits that are going on. There's definitely channels that focus on it almost daily. I know Shauna does. And once again, a lot of you say, hey, have you seen this video? Have you seen this video? Have you seen this Lewis video? I can't believe Lewis said this, or this is great that Lewis is saying this, or I can't believe Shauna said this, or I can't believe Kyle's channel shut down, or all that stuff that's going on. Drama can be fun, right? And sometimes drama is just drama. I tend to stay out of it. My life is very stressful when it comes to work. I'm a sales manager, so I try to focus on the things I believe in, which obviously is to continue to get the truth out about Priscilla, while trying to respect those that may not know yet about Priscilla. And then, of course, folks like Billy Stanley that I believe have good intentions, that have a great heart. Nobody was perfect back in the day when it came to their relationship with Elvis. Either people were too scared to talk back to Elvis, they were afraid to get fired, and their livelihood depended on it, or they didn't want to disappoint Elvis, or they didn't want to be left out, and with Billy Stanley, I believe Billy, out of all the brothers, and the reason I'm bringing this up right now is because we read the Joe Esposito section where he talked trash in that section about Billy, and about how Elvis liked Ricky, and how David, I forgot what he said about David, but reading Billy's stories, talking to Billy and Elvis probably had a very good relationship up until the time that Billy got married. And Billy got married to a girl that was not marrying Billy for Billy. Billy Stanley got married to a girl that was marrying him for access to Elvis. And we we all know Elvis loved women, and he found the good in all of them. And sometimes he developed relationships with a lot of them. Not all of them were full blown, but in this case with Billy's wife, he doesn't like to talk about this. There was something that was developed after the issues with Priscilla cheating on Elvis, and I think before Linda Thompson, and so there was a relationship loss for a while. Billy went and tried to make a relationship with his real father, and got tired of his real father talking trash about Vernon and talking trash about Elvis, and left there. And we're talking about a young man. Out of all the people in Elvis's orbit, the Stanley brothers were the ones that were around a lot, and Elvis did consider them family. He considered them little brothers. We know that Elvis kept Ricky employed, he kept David employed, and like I said, Billy left because of what had gone on with his wife and Elvis. He did come back into the fold here and there, but Billy wasn't a sycophant. He was not a hanger-on. Not that everybody in Elvis's life was that way. A lot of times, first off, Elvis wanted them around, and Elvis didn't mind giving them money in order for them to be around, because in order for them to be around and go to the movies and hang out and do all the things they did, well, they couldn't have a regular job. But Billy wanted to have a regular job. He wanted to be a mechanic. He worked on, I think it was jet engines. And so it's easy for people to take a swing at somebody like Billy Stanley and say, oh, he wasn't around. But we also know Billy Smith wasn't around for years, but yet he seems to get a pass. Once again, not comparing Billy Smith to Billy Stanley. I know there's two names there, but they often get confused and mashed up when it comes to all that. I tend to really feel like Billy Stanley is one of the most. It's pretty. I gotta show you. Look at those pretty trees out there. Wait, hold on. It was very pretty when I went by, but you couldn't really see it. But leaves are changing here in Tennessee. Let me turn it around. Of course, I'm looking at the road. I don't need to look at the trees in order to. Probably very, very windy and very loud. But here in the South, it's that time. We've had enough rain, and they're beautiful. So hey, I'd like to, if you all would share some pictures of fall. If you happen to be in New Hampshire, if you happen to be just in different places with the leaves changing, I'd love to see them, and I'd love to focus them in feature them in a video. So if you made it this far in the video, email me pictures. rareelvisphotos@gmail.com. That's not going to change. Just like we did last Christmas when you guys sent me pictures of your Christmas trees and ornaments. I thought that was wonderful. And I'd like to do that again this year for those that didn't get a chance to share, or those that want to share again. They get a different setup. And it doesn't have to have Elvis on the tree, although most of them I saw had Elvis. How pretty. They're so pretty. It's one of the reasons why I do love Tennessee. And when I moved here in 1996, I did not, I never moved back. I never moved back from where I was originally from, which was California. Not the city, but the desert. So the desert has some beauty to it. But yeah, so Billy Stanley, I think, deserves to be defended, really. I mean, was Billy perfect? No. Billy admits that, gosh, he had many opportunities to talk about Elvis, and he decided to kind of just allow it to slide, because Elvis didn't say he was sorry by saying he was sorry. He showed it in actions. But I'm sure it had to be a little awkward. Elvis was not perfect. He just wasn't. And he didn't have to be perfect, and he doesn't have to be perfect for us to love him, love his music, love his spirit and his soul. You know, those that are Christians that follow that philosophy and religion, I mean, King David is very beloved. They call him the man after God's own heart. Biggest scoundrel, biggest scoundrel in the Bible, you know, when it came to womanizing. He was a man after God's own heart, but he was a man after women. So he had that, whatever. Anyways, but he's still beloved. Everybody in the Bible, except for Jesus for the most part, did a lot of things that, if you take a look at the things they did, like Peter, not only did Peter, you know, and I know we're getting to religion here, and we'll get off of it real quick, but not only did Peter deny Christ 3 times, he left him early on and couldn't follow the lifestyle of what Jesus wanted. And then he came back into the fold. So I don't hold anything that Elvis did that might have wronged somebody, hurt somebody's feelings against Elvis. And I don't think Elvis forgave himself for some of those things. I think that he tried to make up for it. Sorry about that. It tried to make up for it with gifts, with access into his inner circle. Give me 1 second here to make sure so Billy Stanley, I mean, he's high on my list of people that I regard and respect. Now, there was a big old blow up about the Tiger Man Dojo right around the Elvis week. A picture with Billy Stanley and Dave Hebler, and the spa guy is still using pictures of Billy and pictures of Billy and Dave to advertise. I've got my opinion on that. I know you have your opinion on that. I don't know enough about it to say whether it's good for Elvis. I'm not crazy about the whole idea about the ambulance. I've always talked about that. I wouldn't want to go visit it. I mean, Elvis was already gone at Graceland. But some people care about that. The Elvis airplane that came there, that was the old plane that Elvis never set foot on. It was a scam or a scheme, I think, that he ended up not following through on, buying it, I think. It's still an interesting piece of Elvis history, and turning it into a car or whatever. I don't think the guy will ever get his money back that he put into it, because I don't think as many people are interested in it. It's still kind of cool. But all that stuff that went on with Elvis Week with Billy and Dave Hebler, and then everybody slammed Billy Smith. Everybody slammed. Sorry, Billy. Billy Stanley. About taking that picture with Dave. They were all there that day. I've also heard other people defend Dave Hebler. Once again, I don't know Dave. I know he was associated with the book, Elvis Would Happen, that Red and Sonny and Dave agreed to give access to this writer, Steve Dunleavy, that was a hit piece writer, a trash writer. They all said they did it because they were afraid Elvis was not going to make it, and they thought this might wake him up. I can see Dave Hebler not understanding who Elvis really was. He wasn't around as long as Red and Sonny. Red and Sonny knew better. And I got a soft spot for both Red and for Sonny. And I have people in my life that have done things to me that I can forgive them, but I don't want them in my life anymore. And that was one of those things where when Red and Sonny turned on Elvis and shared details, whether or not there's details in that book that didn't need to be shared. It could have been as simple as this. You know, Elvis had some health issues, but Elvis probably took too many pills to get up and go to sleep, and he needed to take a break from music and care for himself more. All the sordid details about, you know, Priscilla and the other girls and taking pictures and all the other stuff that's in that book. It's a betrayal. It was a betrayal. And I think Elvis, the conversation that we have of Red and Elvis was before that book came out. Would Elvis have brought them truly back into the fold? I do not think so. I think that they, all three, would have been gone forever. Not because Elvis doesn't want to be forgiving. They went too far. They shared too much. So to see somebody that's associated with that book and celebrated in a positive light, I understand why a lot of Elvis fans were upset by that. But who Billy chooses to be in a picture with, I mean, think about this. Billy was there. I think his wife was there. What is he going to get in a fist fight? Is he going to, like, you know, in front of Elvis fans, make it all uncomfortable for everybody? And once again, Billy might like Dave. I don't know. I guess I'll talk to him about that. But it's also his right. Everybody has personal relationships with everybody else, and sometimes it doesn't have to do with somebody else. For instance, Riley and her relationship with Priscilla. Okay? Riley did not know Elvis. Riley, of course, loved her mom. She saw all the pain that her mom was in all the time over not just Elvis. It really was Priscilla a lot too, but the association of Elvis and his death, and and Priscilla and Lisa walking in on that, and all the other stuff. But Riley had her own relationship from the time she was a young little girl. And you know, grandmas and grandpas, they tend to treat their kids, their grandkids, better sometimes than their kids. They don't have to discipline them, so it's all fun, all the time, all good, all cheery, all happy. So she's got her own relationship with Priscilla. It might be the same thing with Billy and Dave. I don't know. I mean, I don't know this. But, so, you know, I got some messages. I think Lewis sent me an email about Billy and blocked him. And I think Billy unblocked him. You know, some of y'all think Lewis takes it. And I guess I should find out whether he goes by Louie or Lewis. Goes too far sometimes. But I think that every Elvis channel out there has an intention that's probably, they believe in it. They believe in their cause. Kyle believed in his causes. He's very close to the Smiths, or wants to be close. I mean, I see a lot of defense on that. But, you know, defending Elvis, they don't really hold back on anybody when they feel a certain way. Now, sometimes they retract things. Sometimes they, you know, maybe they feel like, you know, it's Elvis first for them. So, I know some of y'all said, hey, don't mention this channel, don't mention this channel. I love your channel, but please don't mention these channels. I'm going to mention some of this stuff in passing because I think it's important. I don't know many of the other channels. I appreciate some of the stuff that they share that's out there. I see a short of it all the time. You know, there's a guy named Lewis Brown that's an Elvis imitator. But he's also, I think he's a singer-songwriter, and he's a good singer. I enjoy seeing his clips pop up. Donna Presley. Now, after all these years, it seems like she stepped out to start, I want to say defending Elvis. I don't know enough about it, but she spoke out against Priscilla. Somebody's obviously helped her develop a YouTube channel. She's going touring, paid appearances and stuff like that. I think she's sweet. I think she deserves, first off, she's a family member of Elvis. Anybody that's a family member that wants to go out there and speak about Elvis, they should be able to get paid for their time. You know, it's not like she's independently wealthy. I don't personally know her. The few interactions I've had with her on Facebook have been pleasant. Even though I think I did ask her about, you know, the likelihood of some sort of a DNA test with Desiree, and I think she said it wouldn't matter because, I mean, she's not like she would prove that Desiree Presley's a daughter, or it would just might prove that she has some blood, but she could do that just by filing a DNA test somewhere and being related to a Smith somewhere, or a Presley somewhere. So I don't have any negativity towards Donna Presley, but I don't know much about her. And some of y'all are asking me what I think about her, and have you seen this and have you seen that? But if I have any spare time that's not with from work and family and music, it's going to be dedicated to this channel to make a video. If I'm driving down the road, I'm working on song lyrics, or I'm talking to some of my employees, or I'm making a video like this. So I don't get to watch much. I mean, I've watched a clip here or there. I popped in on a couple lives here and there, in between editing a video, or maybe a video uploading when I had some free time that day and my wife was working and my kids were at school. So it's not like I don't completely ever see anything. But I think the most important thing that we all need to remember in this lifetime is that we're not perfect. Neither is the other channels and the people that run the channels. And fighting back and forth, infighting, like Billy Stanley told me last year. He goes, Joe, you're getting to be kind of a big deal. And he says, you're going to get attacked left and right. And for the most part, maybe I do, but I'm not looking for it. I'm not watching. And if it, I normally don't respond. I think the only time I had a response was back when Billy Smith or Joe Smith said something that I just thought was beneath them. You know, I'd always enjoyed kind of watching some of their stuff, but they have said stuff too. I mean, but once again, I'm not going to judge where they were at in 1987 or 82 or 79 or 95, that they got involved with something, shared something they should not have, in my opinion. But maybe they felt like they should have shared it. I don't know. I mean, Elvis was a man, you know, who had faults. He also had desires, and he had preferences and stuff like that. I mean, everybody is different. If you take a look at yourself in the mirror and go, what are the things that I have done in my lifetime that I wouldn't want my family to share later on? There's going to be a list of things. I mean, for most of y'all and most of us, there may be a few of you out there that are saints. Anybody raising their hand? Probably not many, or any. I don't know. So it's a fine line between calling people out on things they've said, things they've done, their actions now, their actions then. And I think, you know, throughout the years that I've done this channel, which is just about 3 years now, I've tried to be fair about Priscilla. Yeah, I get flippant sometimes, and I call her Prissy Bobblehead. But I haven't seen any changes in her behavior. Gosh, if I saw real changes in her behavior, it would be great. And, you know, some of the focuses might be different, but Priscilla, gosh, I mean, the things that we're learning about her in lawsuits, things that we already know. If she would just come out and say, look, Elvis and I had an attraction. He was very kind to me. Yes, he liked other women. Yes, we had a problem over Aunt Margaret. Yes, I had my affairs. Yes, I decided I didn't want to be with him anymore. That I had love for him, but I wasn't in love with him, and I didn't want to be with him. I wanted other men. I wanted to find somebody else that I liked. And we never were going to get back together. That all of these fairy tales that marketing creates are not true. And you deserve the truth after all of these years that, you know, I wasn't pining away for Elvis. I wasn't even concerned or worried about Elvis enough to really take some of the steps that she should have taken. You know, and think about this. I mean, Linda Thompson was there. It's not that Elvis didn't go into the hospital several times, right? He went in to try to change, he had some reactions. He had some overdoses, taking too much, which can happen. Or combining the synergistic effects of medicines that are not, they're more understood now than they were back then. But she, I mean, Linda certainly probably voiced her concerns. She was there in the hospitals. Were there visits from Priscilla? No. Could there have been? I don't know. Have y'all heard of any? So, when it comes to Priscilla, I think just like most of y'all, I've lost patience. I don't want to say I've lost sympathy. I know this whole thing about whether empathy or sympathy is the thing to say. But she's made a lot of money. It feels like she's always put herself above Elvis fans. And it doesn't feel like an honest story. And I know most of y'all agree with me on that. What would it take, and we're 25 minutes into this video. I've got an hour-long drive, so I'm going to talk for a little bit. And maybe y'all are cleaning your house, and this is a nice welcome distraction from cleaning up that little corner down there that's got the dust balls and, you know, or a little bit of mildew or something above a shower. My wife loves to listen to things in the background while she's working, you know. Except for songs I'm asking her to learn. Because she doesn't want to focus. She just wants to have it in the background listening. So, what would it take, if there's anything, what would it take for you to either have more respect for Priscilla, or like Priscilla, or maybe feel compassion for her? What would she have to say? What would she have to do? Now, this is a double thing. It's not just Priscilla and Elvis. Priscilla and Lisa. The story, the book we just read, that Riley helped write and finish from her mother's tapes. Now, here's one place where I can give Priscilla a bit of a pass, in a way. Not everybody is built or meant to be a parent. And the fact that she even considered giving Lisa up before birth, or it wouldn't be given up, it wouldn't be adoption, it would be the other thing, meant that she had questions herself. I gotta turn this around and show you what a beautiful drive this is. She had questions herself about whether she could be a parent or not, or whether she even wanted to be a parent. You know, and we know now from not just her own admissions, but from, you know, the witness statements and Child Bride, from the book that Riley Keough, From Here to the Great Unknown, put together with her mom's tapes, that Priscilla wasn't a good parent. Well, I mean, she wasn't a loving, nurturing parent, I guess. And maybe she didn't have the tools to figure out how to, I don't know, be a good parent. Maybe it was an impossible situation with Elvis dying. So I can give her some passes there. I can give her some compassion, knowing that even when you are a good parent, or you're trying to be a good parent consistently, there are failures that happen. There are things that we might say. There are decisions that we might make that we question later on and go, I could have done that different. I don't know whether Priscilla had those questions later on. I could have done that different. I mean, me as a father, I tried to do the things opposite of the things that hurt me as a child from my parents. I've tried. And some of those were physical abuse, so I don't spank my kids. None of that stuff. My dad would use a fan belt off of a car and take it to the back of my legs. I mean, stuff like that, or get angry and throw something like a big old pipe wrench, hit me in the foot, or take a swing at me. Those kind of things. Now, once again, my father's gone. He's gone now. I no longer take it personally. You know, my father was in the Korean War. He got shock treatment out of the Korean War afterwards. He saw friends of his taken out next to him, parachuting in, people, and he survived it. So a different generation, he had parents that disciplined him a certain way, but that's shock treatment. We know now that it's not good for you. And he had stresses, but regardless, I have a different belief system as a father, as a parent, of what's going to allow my children to grow up and hopefully be happier, adjusted, dealing with the things that's put in front of them versus the things that were done to them. And Priscilla, I don't think Priscilla has an idea or had an idea of what was good for kids or bad for kids. She was just reactionary. And she was reactionary in a selfish manner and an escapist manner. So some people are not meant to be parents, and she is one. Let's take a look at Navarone. So if Priscilla would have had Lisa, with all of her, God bless her, issues with some substances at times and emotional issues that she had, brought on by her mom, well, a lot, brought on by her father passing at a young age, brought on by Scientology. But if she would have had another child named Navarone, who was very well adjusted, that was very, now I don't once again, I don't know Navarone except the reputation, things that you've said, things I see in social media, knowledge of the substance abuse issues that he's had. But let's just say she had one child, Lisa, and then she had another child, and he was well adjusted, no substance issues, happy, very caring, very kind to other people, involved in a lot of things, living on his own, not being supported by his mother. Then we could say, hey, it wasn't Priscilla's fault. This was an issue that had stemmed from Elvis passing and a one-off, an outlier. No. I mean, you've got Navarone, and Navarone, I mean, he might not make it to live as old as Lisa. I mean, maybe he's cleaned up more, I don't know. But y'all know a lot about Navarone, and let me know if I'm off base with that. I mean, I try to be fair. Once again, when I say all that stuff, you got to take a look at ourselves and go, what have we gone through? What constitutes a good person? What constitutes a well-adjusted person? We're all screwed up. We all get screwed up somehow, intentionally, unintentionally. But it's our cross to bear. It's our lesson to learn, to try to figure out, okay, how do we navigate around that to have a better life, to have a better a better future and a better present. And I think that's where Elvis was trapped. He was trapped. He was so trapped by everybody, by family, by friends, by fans, by his own thoughts of who he was, and who he should be, and questions about who he should be and who he is. He didn't know what he could do to change his situation. He had medical issues that were hereditary, and then he had medical issues that were brought on by all the prescription medications and stuff that he took in order to be there for his fans, to fulfill all his obligations. And that's why when he went out and worked, he worked hard, and he put his time into the tours, and he rehearsed, and with the movies, he learned the scripts. And when he went home, a Howard Hughes reputation. He went up to his bedroom and sometimes wouldn't come out for 2, 3, 4 days. He needed not to have everybody pulling on him. All of his friends, all of the fans outside. Not that he didn't appreciate it, but he had to find some way to fill the well back up of who Elvis was. So he could go back out there and be the Elvis that the world believed he was. Who was Elvis? Really, who was Elvis? I mean, I think Elvis was loving, caring, like Billy Stanley said, caring to a fault. He would get tore up emotionally over things that happened in the world. Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy. You know, people that were taken young. Kids. That's why he got involved in all the polio stuff back in the day, in the 50s, 1956, and went on TV and got the polio vaccine. Taking care of Gary Pepper. That is the core, true Elvis. The core, true Elvis. That great singer, yes, that's his talent. And he probably, from what I've heard, what I've read, constantly singing. Excuse me. But it seems like I can't get away from yawning no matter what the situation is. Constantly singing. I gotta hopefully see the directions pop up to tell me when I need to turn. Always singing. So the singer was part of Elvis, where he just loved music and he loved other artists. That's the key to understanding the core of Elvis. That he was about other people. Yeah, maybe sometimes it looked like he might have been a little conceited, a little cocky. Sometimes. Everybody's going to be there. Could that be playing up to the audience, playing up to the people around him? But the fact that he loved other musicians, and he would call them out, you know, like where I was. That he just loved. He loved Anne Marie Snowbird. He loved who was the Dusty Springfield. That he appreciated the Beatles' musicianship. Tom Jones. That he would stop his vehicle on a road trip a half a dozen times, calling in to request Tom Jones. That's not just so Elvis can hear the song. Things like that can help build somebody's career. God, if Elvis loves him so much, this dude must be amazing. And yes, Tom Jones, pretty amazing. You know, I'm not a huge Tom Jones expert or a Tom Jones fan per se, but man, when I've seen some videos of him, that dude, boy, he could move and boy, he could sing. And Elvis appreciated that. That's the kind of person that Elvis was, the core Elvis, that he would take care of Gary Pepper, that he would go out and give money to homeless people on the streets, taking Billy Stanley out, for example, that nice story. That money that was in that box, always about $10,000, replenished constantly, always about $10,000. That guy got a chunk of money, 10 grand probably. That is Elvis, the core of Elvis. And I think that we get lost in his good looks. We get lost in that musical talent, the different styles that he sang. The rock and roll, the country, the kind of folk, the gospel, the blues, rhythm and blues. And we got our favorite songs and what those songs mean to us. And we forget the core of who Elvis was. That core. That's part of it. It's in there. It's integrated into our feelings for sure. I was doing a show on Saturday night in Pulaski at the Big Creek Winery. And there was a table of ladies to the top left that, you know, they were cheering and clapping, and went down on break and talked to them. And got into the subject of this channel and how I run this channel and my love for Elvis. And one of the ladies was like, she goes, it's almost like he's not gone. It doesn't feel like he's gone. And I think that is the truth. And the reason why that is because when you love somebody, a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, like you truly love somebody, and they die, they're not here on the earth, but all their memories live with us. And if you happen to be fortunate enough to be loved by a lot of people, then And those memories they stretch across the world, and they happen every day, like you're not gone. And that's the mystique of Elvis. That's where we get the understanding that as long as all of us still live, and new Elvis fans arise, our grandsons, granddaughters, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, friends, people that we get to appreciate his music, and then they learn about Elvis and pick up something that's very cool. Oh, he bought all those Cadillacs, and then the next story comes, oh, he got a pocket full of change from somebody and then paid their mortgage off he had to make a phone call. Those kind of things. Wow, that's somebody who did something good with their money. That's a nice fella. And I think that's the core. Elvis was a nice fella. He was a good guy. You know, with problems, with issues like we all have. And that's what I want to remember, and I want all of you to remember, and that's what I want all of you to share. When somebody says, oh, he was a drug addict, you know, he was this and that, oh, Priscilla was this age. We all lived in a different time, and like when I'm 90, I hope I'm 90, this world and the ideas behind the world today in 2025 are going to be different. They're going to be adjusted, the viewpoints. One way or the other, something's going to be different. 1958, 59 was a different time. Things were accepted, things were normal, that are not normal now. So, you don't want to get into big arguments about people when it comes to that. But you want to say, hey, look, Elvis made mistakes, just like we all have. He had a lot of pressures. He lived in a different time. But what I know about Elvis is that he gave away most of his money. He gave it to homeless people. He took care of people by paying their bills. He bought people houses, bought people cars. He paid people's salaries and livelihoods for 20 years. You know, all that stuff. And when he passed away, he wasn't dead broke. But the $1 billion+ he probably made, he only had $5 million left. That says a lot that he wasn't hoarding his money. Anyhow, I think I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to say thank you for taking the time to listen if you've listened all the way through here. And just thank you for the super thanks you've been leaving lately as well. I don't have the names to throw out to you on that. New members that have joined, thank you for being a new member, especially if you made it all the way to the end and you're a new member. And subscriber as well, both of those. And thank you for, let me back up, new subscribers that made it to the end. You members that have been paying a membership fee, I appreciate that. That does help me. And it helps me take some little breaks that I need to in order to rest my voice to sing. Because if you've ever tried talking for 43 minutes, I'm not sure if I can sing. I guess I can sing a little bit right now, you know. Oh, I wish I was in a land of cotton. That's one of my favorite songs. Old times there. See, I don't have any vibrato. Like, I couldn't sing a recording if I tried to. If I tried to sing like Memories, or, you know, Elvis is Alive and All of Us, the song I wrote, or any of my new songs, you know, I would have to take a several-hour break to rest. I could probably do some of the, well, I've been traveling over mountains. I could do that, you know. Even through the valleys, too. I've been traveling night and day. I could do stuff like that, but the pretty stuff, good luck. Good luck singing any pretty stuff. After talking for 45 minutes. And so when I do a day where there's 2 or 3 or 4 videos, not only am I talking for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, then I have to do some editing, not always a lot. I've got to upload it, I've got to render it, I've got to tag it, I've got to wait on for all that stuff to be done as well. And so 2 videos turns into 5 or 6 hours of my time. 1 video can be 2 hours, even if it's 30 minutes or 45 minutes. So just keep that in mind. I try to do as much as I can, and with 885 videos on the channel, I have put a lot of time in for y'all and for Elvis. And for myself, I love Elvis. I love talking about Elvis. And I think y'all know that. My favorite, you know, my favorite artist, my favorite person, personality besides God in my family, but he's like a family member to me, and he's the reason why I had the courage, probably, to pick up a guitar and sing, to go out and play my first show. You know, it's one of the reasons, one of the main reasons. And for people that say I've got a great voice, which I've heard that all my lifetime, it's a big part because of Elvis. When you are practicing with the greatest singer of all time, and you're trying to emulate him, and you're trying to sing the vibrato, so hush little baby, don't you cry, which I can't sing right now, but when you're trying to match that, and you can match it even 70%, 50%, any of that stuff, gosh, that's gonna make you better. That's gonna give you better vocal control. That's gonna give you better pitch. Elvis had phenomenal pitch. He really had perfect pitch when he was healthy, and when he wasn't on any substances, coming up and down. What a rarity! And when you get to practice versus that, you're gonna get better. So, if y'all want to play guitar, want to sing, do it, please. Nobody's too old to start a new habit. New habit. So I gotta sign off. TCB TLC, Joe Sins. Joe Sins Rare Elvis Photos. Gonna soon to be just Joe Sins on this channel, and we will still talk about Elvis. Probably 99.9% of the time. That's not going away. Okay. All right. Until next time.